I looked at the blood on my hands and then at the 3 unconscious men on my living room floor. What started as a quiet afternoon with my husband Andre turned into chaos in a matter of seconds. Just 15 minutes ago, we were making coffee for my twin brothers, Lucas and Gabriel, who had come to visit us. Subscribe to the channel and hit like to get access to more stories like this. HOA inspection. Open the door now. That shout was followed by violent banging that made our door shake. Andre opened the door and was immediately shoved by 3 men in black uniforms with HOA security printed on them. The tallest one pointed a fake document at my husband's face. Surprise inspection for code violations. We have authorization to search the property, he said, stepping into the room. Wait a minute, you can't just break into our house, protested Andre, trying to bar their way. The man pushed him against the wall. Shut up! Where's your heart monitor? We got reports of unauthorized medical equipment. I froze. My heart monitor? How did they know about that? I had just set it up a week ago. That's when Lucas and Gabriel came out of the kitchen. The change on my brothers' faces was instant. They went from relaxed to laser focused in seconds. 15 years in the Special Forces don't fade like that. I think there's been a misunderstanding, said Lucas, his voice carefully calm. What happened next was a blur. In less than 20 seconds, the 3 intruders were down on the floor. Gabriel had the leader in a chokehold while Lucas was already on the phone with the police. Yes, we have 3 individuals who broke into a house posing as HOA security. One of them is armed. Detective James Parker arrived even before the main patrol car. Tall in his 50s, with eyes that seemed to absorb every detail, he led me to a corner of the room while officers handcuffed the intruders. Mrs. Garcia, unfortunately, you're not the first. We've had similar reports throughout the neighborhood in recent months. What do you mean, the HOA is breaking into houses? It's not really the HOA, at least not officially. He showed me photos on his phone. Do you recognize any of these individuals? I pointed to a woman with perfectly styled hair and a stern expression. This is Sophia Bennett, the president of our association. We suspect that she's behind these inspections. Some residents have reported absurd fines after these visits. Others have been pressured to sell their homes. Andre stepped forward, holding ice against his bruised cheek. Mariana, remember the Peterson family? They sold last month for half its market value after getting hit with daily fines. The detective nodded. And guess who bought the property through a shell company? Sophia Bennett, we replied in unison. At the police station, the youngest of the intruders, Tyler, started talking as soon as he was separated from the others. I sat with my brothers and Andre while Detective Parker updated us. Bennett hires ex-security guards with criminal records. They intimidate residents, hit them with fake fines, and pressure force sales. Then she buys the properties through shell companies and resells them with astronomical profits. Gabriel, who had been reviewing documents on his laptop, looked up. I found something. In the last 3 years, companies connected to Bennett bought 17 houses in this neighborhood, all after HOA inspections. This woman turned a homeowners association into a real estate mafia, Lucas commented. The next morning, I found an envelope in our mailbox. Inside was a notice of a $15,000 fine for assaulting authorized HOA agents, and a handwritten letter. Dear Mariana, difficult neighbors like you don't last long in our neighborhood. Your brothers won't always be around. Consider this your one and only friendly warning. Signed, Sophia. I showed the letter to Andre, who immediately called Detective Parker. That afternoon, our phones wouldn't stop ringing. Neighbors who heard about the incident started sharing similar stories. The Rodriguez family had their irrigation system confiscated for violating non-existent rules. The Patels were fined for ethnic smells coming from their kitchen. Widow Johnson was threatened after refusing an offer to buy her house. We gathered everyone in our garage, 15 neighbors, each with their own horror story about Sophia Bennett and her fake security force. She can't keep doing this, I said, looking at the frightened faces. We're tired of living in fear in our own homes. Lucas and Gabriel exchanged looks, that silent communication only twins understand. Let's put an end to it, said Gabriel. Together. The next morning, we turned our dining room into an investigation hub. Lucas spread maps of the neighborhood all over the table, marking the residences where invasions occurred and the properties that Sophia had acquired. Gabriel hooked his laptop up to an improvised TV on the wall, displaying financial documents and company records. We're looking for patterns, Lucas explained while I served coffee. Operations like Sophia's follow a logical system, no matter how twisted they may seem. Andre, still nursing a bruise on his face, ran his finger over the map. All these houses marked in red were bought in the last 3 years. Notice how they form a sort of corridor through the neighborhood? Looking closer, I noticed that the properties formed a winding line from the north to the south of our community. It's not random, concluded Gabriel. She's planning something bigger than just real estate speculation. Detective Parker arrived. Around 10, carrying a stack of folders. He looked tired, as if he'd stayed up all night. Sophia Bennett wasn't always Sophia Bennett, he announced, opening a folder with old photos. 12 years ago, she was Susan Blackwood, an executive at an investment bank that went bust during the financial crisis. She was investigated for fraud, but got away due to lack of concrete evidence. So she changed her identity and started over here, I deduced. Exactly. And she brought her shady skills into the local real estate market. Lucas studied the files. We need to follow the money. If we can prove that she's behind those shell companies and tie them to the home invasions, we have a solid case. Detective Parker nodded. We need someone on the inside. Tyler Walsh, the youngest intruder, seems willing to cooperate in exchange for a reduced sentence. He wears a hearing aid, Gabriel reminded. We can fit it with a hidden listening device for his next meeting with Sophia. While we were organizing the plan, I got a call from Mrs. Johnson, the widow mentioned during the neighbor meeting. Mariana, there are men at my door again. They're measuring my garden and saying I'll get a daily fine of $500 for the extra centimeters. In my lawn height, I handed the phone to the detective who listened carefully. Keep them busy, we're on our way. In 15 minutes, we parked discreetly a block away from Mrs. Johnson's house. Parker stayed in the car while my brothers and I walked over. Just observe and record, the detective instructed. We need evidence, not a confrontation. From behind a nearby bush, Gabriel was filming as the men intimidated Mrs. Johnson, a 72-year-old widow. They were wearing the same fake uniforms as the ones who invaded our house. If you can't pay the fines, we can always discuss an offer for the property, one of them said, handing her a document. When they left, we went closer. Mrs. Johnson was shaking, holding a fine notice totaling $15,000. That's the same amount they tried to charge us, I observed. It must be the standard price to force a sale. Back at our makeshift hub, Gabriel added new data to our investigation. Detective Parker went back to the station to arrange for Tyler Walsh's cooperation. That afternoon, we got access to bank records through court orders. Sophia's financial web proved to be complex, but not impenetrable. She set up 5 different companies, Lucas explained, showing documents on the screen. Each one buys properties in specific areas of the neighborhood, then they're transferred to a holding in the Cayman Islands. Andre, who worked in finance, quickly identified the pattern. It's classic money laundering mixed with real estate fraud. She probably has investors who don't even know where the profit comes from. As we deepened our investigation, Tyler Walsh did his part. Equipped with a concealed listening device attached to his hearing aid, he attended a meeting with Sophia and other members of the fake security force. We listened to the recording in real time at the station, gathered around an audio device. Sophia's voice sounded cold and calculated. Sector 4 is almost complete. We need to speed up acquisitions in Sector 5 before the city's announcement goes public. And what if we get more resistance like the Garcia family? One male voice asked. Increase the pressure, cut the water, damage the electrical wiring, make it look like an accident. Anything to make life unbearable. Desperate people sell cheap, came the reply. We exchanged horrified looks. That explained the mysterious accidents several neighbors had reported over the past few months. About those meddling twins, Sophia continued, I found out that they don't actually live here. They're just visitors. When they leave, we'll take care of the couple. A chill ran down my spine when I heard the veiled threat. And what if they go to the police? Tyler asked, clearly trying to get more incriminating details. Sophia's laughter echoed through the audio system. Half the department is on our payroll, dear. Why do you think we've never had any trouble so far? Detective Parker looked visibly tense. That's a serious accusation. We need to find out who's involved. The meeting continued, with Sophia detailing the plan for the upcoming inspections and the priority target properties. The big day is coming, she announced. When the city reveals the development plan, all those plots we bought for peanuts will be worth millions. Our lead investor has already secured the construction contracts. And who is this investor? Tyler asked. There was a tense moment of silence. Too curious for your own good, Walsh, Sophia replied coldly. Let's just say it's someone whose name would open many doors and shut others permanently. Gabriel jotted down every name mentioned, creating a map of the criminal organization. Parker, was officially logging all the evidence. After 2 hours, the meeting ended. Tyler was instructed to take part in another inspection the following day. We can't let him keep going, I argued. Sophia is already suspicious. I agree, Parker said. We have enough evidence to justify a search warrant, but we need the final piece of the puzzle. Lucas studied the documents for a moment. The lead investor. If we can figure out who's financing the whole operation, we can take down the entire network. The next morning, Gabriel managed to access the Cayman Islands company records through a contact from his Special Forces days. The lead investor's name surprised us. Counselor Robert McAllister, the president of the city council? Andre nearly knocked over his coffee. That explains why the city is about to announce a development plan in exactly the areas where Sophia acquired properties, Gabriel noted. It's an insider trading scheme. Detective Parker called in the FBI since the case now involved municipal corruption. Within hours, federal agents joined the investigation. While we waited for the federal warrant, Gabriel discovered something even more alarming in the old audio files that Tyler had smuggled from the HOA headquarters. You need to hear this, he said, hooking his laptop up to the sound system. Sophia's voice echoed through the room. If the Ramirez continued to refuse the offer, maybe it's time for a more permanent solution. We have that contact in Phoenix who makes people disappear. A heavy silence fell over the room. We were no longer just dealing with real estate fraud, but with threats of physical violence. This changes everything, declared the lead federal agent. Let's speed up the warrant and set up an immediate arrest. While the FBI team was preparing the operation, I got a call from Mrs. Johnson. Mariana, there are men at my door again. They're saying I have 1 hour to leave the house or I'll be forcibly evicted. I immediately informed Detective Parker, who mobilized a team to Mrs. Johnson's residence. It was the perfect moment to catch Sophia and her thugs in the act. The agents arrived discreetly, positioning themselves around the property while Sophia's men intimidated the elderly woman. They filmed everything: the threats, the fake documents, the payment demands. With this final piece of evidence, the federal judge issued arrest warrants for Sophia Bennett and everyone identified in her operation, including Counselor McAllister. Yes. Next morning, the neighborhood woke up to sirens and official vehicles blocking the main street. From the living room window, I watched police cars, FBI vehicles, and even an IRS van parked in front of the 3-story mansion that Sophia Bennett called home. It's happening, I whispered to Andre, who was holding my hand tightly. Lucas and Gabriel appeared behind us, still in their pajamas, but completely alert. My brothers seemed satisfied, but they weren't celebrating. Men with their experience knew that operations could go wrong until the very last minute. Let's get dressed, suggested Gabriel. Detective Parker said he wants us present once it's all over. As we were getting ready, neighbors began coming out of their houses, drawn by the commotion. Some were filming with their phones, while others simply watched in awe. The operation was on a scale you wouldn't expect in our quiet suburb. Detective Parker met us at the street corner, away from the main chaos. His face showed a mix of exhaustion and relief. We're executing 10 arrest warrants simultaneously, he explained. Besides Sophia, we're arresting Counselor McAllister, 3 corrupt municipal police officers, and all identified members of the fake security force. And what about the ones who broke into our house? Asked Andre. Marcus has been in custody. Since the incident at your house, Tyler is cooperating. The third man, Raymond, tried to flee to Mexico last night, but he was intercepted at the border. We watched as 2 FBI agents escorted Sophia out of her house. Even in handcuffs, she held herself upright with a defiant look. She was wearing expensive pajamas and her hair was disheveled, clearly caught off guard. When she saw us on the sidewalk, her look changed. The hatred in her eyes was palpable, directed especially at me and my brothers. She muttered something I couldn't quite understand, but the movement of her lips suggested a threat. She won't hurt anyone anymore, Detective Parker assured. We found documents detailing all the illegally acquired properties. The victims will be compensated. As Sophia was loaded into the patrol car, neighbors began gathering around us. Mrs. Johnson was the first to approach, her face marked with tears of relief. Then came the Patels, the Rodriguezes, the Chen family. One by one, all those who had been intimidated, threatened, or forced to sell left their homes. Is it really over? Asked Mrs. Johnson, her voice trembling. It's over, I confirmed, hugging her gently. She won't be intimidating anyone anymore. A local reporter approached with a microphone and a camera. Mrs. Garcia, may we ask you a few questions? We understand it was you who started the investigation that dismantled this scheme. Reluctantly, I agreed to a brief interview. Andre stayed by my side as we explained how it all started with the break-in at our home and how we uncovered the criminal scheme. I didn't mention details about how my brothers took down the intruders. Some parts could stay between us, sources indicate that Sophia Bennett and her associates illegally acquired properties valued at over $12 million, the reporter remarked. How does it feel knowing that your neighborhood was targeted by such a sophisticated criminal operation? Betrayed. I answered sincerely. Homeowners associations should protect the community, not exploit it. Sophia turned something meant to bring neighbors together into a tool for intimidation and greed. At the station hours later, the lead federal agent showed us shocking evidence found at Sophia's home. Detailed neighborhood maps marked each property with specific dates for acquisition. Financial records revealed million-dollar deposits in offshore accounts. Even more disturbing, they found a file containing detailed personal information about every resident, including daily routines, financial vulnerabilities, and even medical details, like my heart monitor. How did she get this information? I asked, horrified to see my own file. She hacked into the local clinic system, the agent explained, and she had an informant in the insurance company supplying confidential data on the residents. Lucas examined the evidence with trained eyes. This isn't the work of amateurs. Sophia set up an operation worthy of military intelligence, just geared toward real estate crime. The plan was to sell all the properties to a major developer. As soon as the urban renewal announcement was made, Detective Parker added, with the infrastructure planned by the city, the land values would triple instantly. Sophia's interrogation revealed the full extent of the conspiracy. Counselor McAllister had secured approval for a large commercial and residential complex right in the area where she was buying properties. In return, he would receive 30% of the profits through shell companies. 2 days later, a federal judge denied bail for everyone involved, considering the seriousness of the crimes and the flight risk. The list of charges was extensive: extortion, fraud, trespassing, assault, document forgery, money laundering, bribery of public officials, and conspiracy. Our living room returned to normal with the maps and documents put away. Gabriel and Lucas extended their visit for a few more weeks to support me during the depositions and help the community reorganize. A week after the arrests, we held a meeting at the neighborhood's Central Park. To my surprise, almost every resident showed up, many bringing folding chairs and food to share. Thank you all for coming, I began, nervous about speaking in public. We've been through something traumatic as a community. Sophia Bennett exploited our sense of order and respect for the rules to intimidate us and steal our properties. Murmurs of agreement ran through the crowd. Now we have a choice. We can let this experience divide us and make us suspicious, or we can use it to build something better. Mrs. Johnson stood up, leaning on her cane. I suggest we completely scrap the HOA. We don't need it. Some people applauded, while others looked worried. I understand that feeling, I replied, but some aspects of the association are important. The upkeep of common areas, for example. Maybe we can reimagine what a neighborhood association should be. Gabriel, who had been talking with residents during the week, stepped forward. In my years in special forces, I learned that the best units are the ones where everyone feels heard and valued. Maybe we need something more like a cooperative and less like a hierarchical structure. The discussion went on for hours. Ideas emerged, were debated, and refined. In the end, we laid out the principles for a new community neighbors association: voluntary, transparent, and collaborative. No arbitrary fines, Andre assured, offering to help draft the new bylaws. Just voluntary contributions for projects approved by everyone. Michael Chen, a retired architect, suggested a rotating leadership system to prevent anyone from staying in charge for more than a year. Mrs. Rodriguez proposed monthly open meetings with online broadcasts for those who couldn't attend in person. Now, the following months, we implemented these changes. The first project of the new association was to create a community garden on the vacant lot where the old HOA office used to be. We worked together on weekends, planting fruit trees and vegetables that everyone could harvest. It's amazing how everything has changed, remarked Andre as we watered freshly planted tomatoes. We barely knew our neighbors before. It was true. The tragedy had brought us closer in a way I never imagined possible. The Patels now taught us traditional Indian recipes. Mrs. Johnson became a constant presence in our home, bringing homemade cookies and stories about the neighborhood before Sophia. Mr. Rodriguez fixed our irrigation system for free, as thanks for taking the first step against Sophia's tyranny. Lucas and Gabriel finally returned to their own homes, but promised to visit frequently. Before leaving, they organized a community safety workshop, teaching simple measures everyone could take to protect their homes and each other. It's not about paranoia, Lucas explained during the workshop. It's about awareness and looking out for one another. On our last night together, sitting on the porch, watching kids play in the street, something rare before Sophia's downfall, Gabriel made an observation that would stick with me. You know, Mariana, what Sophia never understood is that the real value of a neighborhood isn't in the properties, but in the people who live in it. 6 months after Sophia's arrest, we received news that she had accepted a plea deal. In exchange for a reduced sentence, she provided information about other similar schemes in nearby cities. Counselor McAllister and the corrupt officers were also convicted. As for the properties acquired illegally, a judge ruled that they be returned to their original owners, or, when that wasn't possible, that the sales proceeds be refunded. With interest, Mrs. Johnson was the first to get her house back. On the day she got her keys back, we held a small welcome party. Everyone brought something to share. Food, drinks, stories. Looking at the smiling faces gathered in her garden, I realized that we had gained something far more precious than our houses. We had rediscovered the true meaning of community. No, said Mrs. Johnson, holding my hand. When those men came to intimidate me, I thought I had lost everything. But now I realize I've gained a whole family. Subscribe to the channel and hit like to get access to more stories like this. Our neighborhood, once divided by high fences and mistrust, has transformed into a place where doors remain open and neighbors take care of each other. The heart monitor that Sophia tried to use against me is now just another reminder. Our hearts are stronger and more connected than ever.